Hi, my name is James Shirley, and today we're going to talk about who should eat gluten-free. So there's a couple of different groups of people who should eat gluten-free. Now, don't get me wrong here, anybody can eat gluten-free, but we're going to focus today on who should eat gluten-free. And a couple of these might surprise you, so stay tuned. First, and this one probably isn't a big surprise, but is the group of people who have the autoimmune disease called celiac disease. And celiacs absolutely have to eat gluten-free because the little villi, which are the little hairs in the upper part of your small intestine which absorb nutrients from food, get damaged when celiacs eat gluten. And then what happens is those little villi, those little hairs, basically can't absorb nutrients anymore. So the person who has celiac who eats gluten can end up with major belly aches and vomiting and diarrhea and all sorts of manifestations of through the body of what's happening when your body's attacking itself, and ultimately what's happening in the small intestine is those little villi are getting damaged. So they have to eat gluten-free. Now there's also been proven that there is such a thing called gluten intolerance, which isn't just something that's in people's heads so much as it's something that's been actually proven to be not the same as celiac disease in that it's affecting those villi, or an autoimmune where the body's attacking itself type disease, but there is a definite intolerance for gluten. And so scientists have proven that, and that, I think helps vilify a lot of the people who, were shown not to have celiac, but who felt much better when they ate gluten-free, or who couldn't tolerate gluten at all. So there is that gluten intolerance, and that's something that's quite common and is believed to be rather undiagnosed, as is celiac disease around the world. Now there's also such thing as a gluten allergy, and this is less common, but it is something that exists. And the allergy is something that's a little different than an autoimmune disease or the intolerance, in that an allergic reaction is something that when people have it, their body can actually go into shock and may require some medical attention right away. And so there's that, and allergies tend to be something that can last a lifetime, but for a lot of people they go away after a period of time. So there is such thing as gluten allergy. Now, there's also this massive group of people who have kind of become more self-aware, become more aware of how they feel when they eat certain foods, and these people are really in a group that doctors have a hard time diagnosing that there's actually something like gluten causing a problem, that's causing them to be lethargic, tired, not feel well, have swelling, and those sorts of things. But ultimately, while doctors have a hard time sort of giving some sort of actual proof to those people that they've got something that they should get checked out or that they should change their diet for, there's, with the web and communication today, and the fact that more and more people are talking about eating as a way to feel better, many of the people in that group have gone ahead and said, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and try eating gluten-free for a while. And that's something that is best if you talk to your doctor about it, just to make sure that everybody's kind of on the same page. Certainly eating gluten-free isn't going to kill you. You have to eat regularly, whether you're gluten-free or not. You have to eat vegetables, you have to eat meat, you have to get protein, you have to get calories. So there's certainly no harm in going and trying to eat gluten-free for a while. However, if it's not something that's working for you, or really helping you feel better, after a couple of weeks, then there really isn't any benefit to staying gluten-free, if the doctor hasn't indicated that you need to. So that's another massive group of people. And then there's actually a group who have something called irritable bowel syndrome, that's a little different, and while eating gluten-free can actually help alleviate some of those symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome, there's no direct link between eating gluten-free and totally feeling better if that's something that you've been diagnosed with. Although it can be something to explore. So that's another piece. And then, of course, there are people who are talking about eating gluten-free as a way to lose weight. And this may shock you, but what I found when I started eating gluten-free is that I did lose weight. So did my wife and other people I know who have started eating gluten-free. But I think one of the main reasons is because not so much that I was going gluten-free, but because I was becoming conscious of what I was eating. I was cooking at home more. I was eating less carbohydrates. And if you sort of follow the caveman diets, paleo, eating primal, and the theories that those guys have brought up in those circles, which basically show that eating tons of carbohydrates actually causes your body, it sort of fools your body into thinking it needs to store fat instead of burning fat for energy, then certainly you can see why if you transition to gluten-free and now you're paying $5 a loaf for bread, and pasta is much more expensive and stuff like that, that your diet's naturally going to change over time, and it changes in a good way. I don't really miss those things, and we get to eat them now more than when we first started eating gluten-free, when there really weren't any good breads to speak of. But I think that's a main reason why we've lost a lot of weight. And so I think, can you lose weight eating gluten-free? Absolutely. But if you don't need to eat gluten-free, then it may or may not be the thing that helps you lose that weight so much as just becoming more conscious about what you eat and how you eat and what you put in front of yourself at the table. So thank you for joining me. If you'd like to learn more, then why don't you visit the link below, because there's certainly so much more to talk about when it comes to eating gluten-free, and at that link